Welcome to Module 3. You guys have made it more than halfway through the class as of today. Congratulations. I'm very excited to hear about all of your learning. I've enjoyed reading your learning logs over the past week and just looking at what you're really struggling with. Many people have mentioned how much stress that they're feeling about this focus group project because it's not safe. And I appreciate that. It should be a stressful situation for us to know that we're going to go out and have to have courageous conversations with people and ask innocent, vulnerable questions of folks to learn about their cultures and how this group is going to be different than the way we are. So for those of you who are having issues figuring out what your focus group is going to be, I encourage you to talk to some of your colleagues because there are phenomenal ideas floating around. Some of you have realized that you have friends that are very different than you are, maybe a group of friends, and you're going to be able to use that group of friends or family members to help you out with this project. Just keep in mind that these have to be folks who are different than you in some way, shape, or form. They would fit into one of those intersections that has nothing to do with where you would fit into the intersection. So that was another, speaking of intersections, another topic that was really enlightening this time as we went through looking at all of your intersections and just reading about how those things affect you and the wow moments. This has been really such a great module for me as a reader and as a facilitator just to go through and look and see where you are. And remember, a lot of times I post questions and I appreciate those of you who've come back and answered them. If you're unable to answer them, they're just really for rhetorical purposes to get you thinking about some of the things that maybe you're overlooking or just maybe enlightening a little bit more on where you are. Just really trying to dig down deep and think about your intersections in your family and why certain things come up to you as being important in your family. So with that, speaking of discussion forums and where we are with those, I want to remind you that the expectation is that you should get into discussion forums by Wednesday and then continue to post throughout the following week and a half in your discussion forums. So, and if you're having an issue, please let me know so that I understand what's going on. If it's personal life, things that are happening, maybe you hit a rough point in your job for a week. We all have been there and I totally understand. I would just rather know so that I understand when you're absent from the forums that what's going on with you and so that I can be responsive to that in a positive way. So in Module 3, we start to talk about structural and curricular changes and obstacles and things that are going to cause us challenges as teachers. This one's very interesting because already in some of the learning logs, I've started to learn a little bit more about where each of you fits into your system and where each of you believes your job or your perception of your job and how you interact with the system. So I want you to keep in mind that this is probably a module that when we have such a tight-knit group of folks from a cohort, that this is the module that might get a little bit sensitive. So just please keep in mind that this is an open forum and it's a safe space. So you should feel confident in talking about the structural challenges. No school system is perfect. No situation is perfect. So the most important thing that we can do is call light to an issue and then decide how we can fix an issue or how we can begin to move in a more positive direction with that issue. So we're going to be looking at a couple of articles this time. You can see that you have 2 articles and then only 3 chapters between the 2 books that you're going to be reading. Appendix 1 in the blind spot text is optional. I just find it really interesting to be able to go through and skim read that. So if you have time, I would suggest that you do that. If you don't, just save it for another time when you're done with the class, maybe over Christmas break when you're sipping on some hot chocolate and you're hanging out by the fire. That would be a really cool little appendix to read. So this video that I'm posting for these next 2 weeks is a little bit longer. It's 17 minutes long, but I always get positive feedback on this one. It is from 2015, but it's all about special needs. So it really ties into the ableism materials from Module 1. Speaking of ableism, one of the links wasn't working. Someone called attention to that. I reset the link. Sometimes the links just go on and off on me, and I'm not really quite sure why. So I did fix that link and reset that, so hopefully you'll be able to get into all of the ableism resources. But this particular video goes very well with those. You're also completing your MySpace project, which a couple of you, I am very impressed with this group's work ethic. A couple of you have already said to me, you're just about finished with it, or you're totally finished with it, and you've had some questions on how to polish it up and put it out. So I really appreciate that, because that's just going to make you feel so much better with this module and moving forward into that larger focus group project. So of course, as we move down through, I have the Module 3 overview for you to look at, and I want you to really be considering, what is your role? Do you take kind of a broad role whenever you're thinking about curricular and structural changes? Do you consider yourself a helper or researcher? And you can see that I have some questions here to help you to start thinking about what you bring to this role of being a change agent in your school system. So of course, I want you to start doing the reading and jump into those discussion boards. Many of you are extremely familiar with those Module 1 social justice resources, so it's very possible that the first thing you might want to do this time is the activity time, because in our discussion forums this time we have an activity where you're going to be focusing on the structural and curricular objectives that would apply to those groups that have the isms. So you may want to jump in on that if you aren't able to start reading, or you weren't able to start reading over the weekend and you want to get into your discussion boards by Wednesday. You may want to consider go ahead and do that activity first. It won't take you nearly as long. So the MySpace Exploration project is open. I want you to keep in mind that I want you to upload your presentation into the Module 3 discussion board thread. It's okay if you also deliver it to this link in addition to that, but I will make sure that I check the Module 3 thread to do my grading. So whenever you get your grades back for the MySpace photo project, you're going to be looking into the grading comments this time. There won't be comments throughout, obviously. They'll be all there in a paragraph form for you to be able to read along with your score in the rubric. Okay, but please upload it to the Module 3 thread so that more folks can look at it and you guys can actually take a look and see what everyone else has done. So if we go to the discussion forums for this time, and they're open, you have the MySpace project that's posted here, structural obstacles, activity time, which is your Module 1 resources, and then of course we're looking at best practices for how to overcome some of those challenges that exist for students. Specifically in this particular thread, we're going to be talking about issues that students have and how can you intervene. What are some of the things that you can talk to students about? What are some of the words that we can use to practice courageous conversations with them when students are having issues? So back into Module 3, after the MySpace project, if you're looking down through as to what you need to start working on for your focus group project, you're going to see that number 4 here, I've asked you to just give me an outline of your plan. Some of you have asked questions and kind of submitted some ideas to me, but I'm asking you just to drop in a discussion board link, and I haven't opened this one yet because it's due November 25th, but that discussion board link opens up on November 20th for you to start dropping in a plan. So I'm asking you to just give me a survey of the questions, and it doesn't have to be all of them. I think I asked for 5 in this discussion forum. And then, of course, just an outline of your plan and how you plan to get it completed so that it will be all completed and ready for submission by the end of this Module 4 time. So if you have any questions about that, go ahead and feel free to email me. I really appreciate that you guys are coming back and forth with your ideas. I will be looking through your survey questions, and I'm going to email you. You'll either get an all great carry on type of email, or you're going to get suggestions and maybe some additional questions and things that you can write about. And I know some of you have already gone back and forth with me a little bit asking about your questions and adding some things. But please make sure that for the grading purpose, you submit to the discussion board, even if we've already talked about it, just so that I have it in my face as what your plan and your outline are. So again, I cannot tell you enough about how super impressed I am with the work that you all have been doing. It's been so enjoyable for me coming into this second course of the semester for me, just to be revived by the things that you guys have to say and the learning that you're doing. And I'm so excited for your system as a whole, just that so many of you have decided to join together and start to work on these issues. I can't even imagine how this is going to change your school system over the next couple of years. So please keep in contact, keep up the good work. And I just want to say I really appreciate you. And I hope that you're taking some time for yourself and that no one's feeling completely bogged down by the work. And if you are and you need some strategies, please feel free to let me know. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you.